Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for our time today. We're going to be talking about the mentor mindset in leading others, the mentor mindset, how to think like a leader. Now, I know that mentoring can be this overwhelming task, right? It can be a title, in fact, that's a little unsettling. And when I started mentoring people years ago, I discovered, well, some secrets that made the job way less overwhelming. And I'm going to share those with you today. In fact, I wish someone would have shown them to me because they have made mentorship in almost any context easier for me, like in counseling context or parenting context with kids, or in coaching context on a sporting field, or even in leadership meetings, by the way. They are secrets that, if recalled and practiced regularly, will actually increase the impact of your leadership. They'll change how you lead as a man, husband, father, and leader. But I want to give you a few clarifiers today, especially if you're leading people spiritually. I think these clarifiers are important in any kind of aspect of spiritual leadership. Number one, you got to remember that God is the leader. You are not. You are a follower. That's why we bear the title follower. We have got to learn first to submit to the only leader. Number two, you learn to follow that leader by listening to that leader. And you listen to that leader by actually reading his word and learning how to walk and listen to and be led by his spirit. The combination of reading his word and listening to the spirit is where we hear what the leader actually wants us to do. And then the number three, you got to act in obedience to that leader, right? You got to follow the leader. And right here in the context of these three things is where I believe leadership or followership and mentorship are crafted. Right here in that experience. By being led and being mentored, we are crafted into the follower that God wants us to be. And then once we learn how to do this, we can show others how to do the same. We can lead others into the same followership. How about that? And if you get this right, this perspective right, then you're going to be okay. But usually men with a strong drive for leadership and mentorship blow right past these initial steps. Don't do that. Because if you can learn to be led by God by submitting to him, learn to listen to him by reading his word and following his spirit, the call of his spirit, and then acting in obedience, then what I'm going to show you today next is going to be relatively easy. If you can't, then that's going to complicate everything. So here comes the mentorship mindset. Now, a couple of other preliminary matters. First, I'm going to use scriptures from 1 Timothy. I'm going to reference them today because 1 Timothy is a great backdrop for anything we do in mentorship. I mean, what you're going to listen to in 1 Timothy is the mentorship of one man to another. You're going to listen to the mentor Paul mentor Timothy, his mentee, his protege, his disciple, right? And I think there are moments in 1 Timothy that describe the beautiful mindset that Paul had as he was mentoring Timothy. Second, I'm going to build these principles around a simple acrostic today. They're going to help you to remember it. 3 letters that build a simple acrostic so that you can carry this around in your mind as a tool. And so you can recall it in any mentorship meeting, whether you are leading a group of men, a single guy, whether you are leading a son, a daughter, an employee, whatever that might be. And the acrostic is built around these 3 letters, KMS. KMS, they stand for knowledge, modeling, and skill. KMS. It's all you got to remember to build a mentorship mindset. So mentor mindset principle 1 is this: knowledge. It's what someone needs to know. What someone needs to know. I'm going to start with actually 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. Great text here. It reads, "As I, Paul, urged you, Timothy, his protege, mentee, disciple, when I was going to Macedonia, remain at Ephesus, so stay in this city, at this church, so that you may charge certain persons not to teach any different doctrine, nor to devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies, which promote speculation rather than a stewardship from God that is by faith. Now, I love this start to this letter right here, because right from the beginning we hear the knowledge that Paul wants to pass on to Timothy. And he passes on 3 bits of knowledge to him here. Number 1, the knowledge that Timothy needed to know about the situation in Ephesus. Number 2, the knowledge that Timothy was going to have to challenge when he got there. And then number 3, the knowledge he's going to need to give people the correct knowledge. Now, when we're sitting down and we're mentoring other people, there are things that, well, we know that they need to know. And sometimes there are things that we don't know that they need to know. And it's this knowledge we're after when we're mentoring someone. When I'm sitting down in a conversation with someone and I'm mentoring, I'm looking for that knowledge. What is it that they need to know? Either they need to know that I don't know, that I need to go get and give to them, or what is it that they need to know that I actually already do know that I can get to them? So this is where really mentorship begins. It just begins by asking, guess what? Good questions. That's it. It's just knowledge that we're searching for. What is it that they need to know? And you need to ask them good questions. You're looking for things that they might need to know about marriage, about kids, about addiction, about sin, about anger, about spending, about whatever it is that they're facing in their life. You're looking to ask good questions so you can find whatever that knowledge is that they need, that either you have that you can give to them, or that someone else has that you can give to them. Number 2 is modeling. Modeling, that's the M. K stands for knowledge, M stands for modeling. It's what they need to see, what they need to see with their eyes. That's where we start doing some modeling. So now I'm going to jump over to 1 Timothy, and it's chapter 4. I'm going to read verse 12 here. Great text here. One of the greats from 1 Timothy, by the way. Paul says to Timothy, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example, so model for them in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity. Love that moment. This is kind of the pinnacle moment here, because this is the mentor, Paul, saying to his mentee, Timothy, you are now the mentor. If I didn't confuse that too bad there. So mentor Paul saying to the mentee, Timothy, you now are the mentor, and you do it by setting yourself an example. You do it by modeling. Because guess what? Paul and Timothy spent years together before they ever got to this moment. Timothy watched Paul a lot. He watched Paul model all kinds of things to him. He modeled things that we read throughout the context of 1 Timothy, by the way, that he's saying to him again, like how to speak about Jesus. And he teaches them again how to do that here. How to do hard things. He teaches them how to do it here. How to pray, how to reconcile, how to deal with issues, right? How to plant a church and how to build teams of leaders. I mean, how to seek after scriptural wisdom. Guess what? Paul modeled all those things to Timothy. He did already, but he's going to say them again. And now he's hoping that Timothy is going to model those for others. And guess what? When I'm sitting down in a mentoring meeting and I put on my mindset, I'm thinking, what knowledge? But I'm also thinking, how can I model this to them? How can I model it to them? Here, I'm going to give you a couple of things that you can absolutely model to other people. Here's one thing. You can model what it means to be vulnerable, right? So let's say you want to pass on some knowledge to someone around, what it means to be more transparent and open and honest to another man. Well, the way to do it would be by actually modeling it to him, by being vulnerable to him, by sharing your struggles, demonstrating dependence on God, and kind of what that looks like in your relationship with him, because then that other person doesn't just know about it, head knowledge, they witness and see you do it. Here's another thing, reconciliation. Yes, people deal with issues in their lives and around sin and problems in their marriage and relationships with their kids. But another way to show a man how to do it is to show him how you've reconciled things in your life, how you're reconciling with your wife, how you're reconciling with your kids, how you're reconciling maybe with an ex-spouse. Because guess what? Sometimes we learn by watching someone else go through the process too. So tell them how you have reconciled in your life. So now we have knowledge, K, M, modeling. And finally, we jump to skills. And skills are what men need to know, what people need to know, what kids need to know, what employees need to know, what a disciple needs to know. Now I'm going to jump over to 1 Timothy chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 8 for you here. And Paul is doing all kinds of skill development in this book. Listen to verse 8. It states, I desire then that in every place that the men should pray, lifting up what? Holy hands without anger and quarreling. So all over this book right here, this letter that Paul wrote to Timothy, he's passing on all kinds of skills. And one of the skills that he's showing him how to do is how to pray. He's being very, very pragmatic about it too. Like, here's what it looks like when you do that. And guess what? This is how some people learn, is by having skills taught to them. It's one man passing on another skill. For example, when my grandfather was teaching me how to drive, he was passing on a skill to me. He had me hop in a truck and he showed me how to move and to use all the tools that were in the truck. And guess what? When it comes to spiritual things or leading someone spiritually, there are all kinds of skills that they need for godliness. There are spiritual skills, disciplines like prayer and reading the Bible. There are leadership skills like how to understand how to lead other people and to do it in a godly way. There are decision-making skills that are needed. And guess what? Inside the context of 1 Timothy, Paul is actually showing Timothy how to equip other people with these skills. Spiritual skills, leadership skills, decision-making skills, all of them are present in this book. And we too have to sometimes show people, actually step them through how to do it. So there's your mindset today, your mentorship mindset: knowledge, modeling, and skills. And guess what, fellas? Every time I'm having a phone call with someone, I'm looking for these things, I'm passing them on. Every time I'm doing a counseling session, leadership session, leading a small group, I'm thinking about these things. What kinds of things do these men need to know, right? Do I need to show them? And do I need to tell them, right? So use this KMS process in every conversation. I promise if you start applying it to the context that you're leading in, these are going to become secrets that you're going to pass on to someone else forever. And it makes leadership so much easier. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone else, and I'll see you right back here again next time.